in quantum hypnosis, one client, she wanted to ask her higher self, how come everything feels so hard? And she came, of course, into a complicated family. The mother and the father both didn't have very much consciousness and actually were both quite violent and verbally abusive, more so the father. And the mother was more, I would say, afraid and didn't really protect the children because she was afraid of the father. And so she wanted to know why. Why did she have a father like this? And then what to do with the father. And her higher self just said she did the right thing. She told him no, and she told him to stop it. And then once she became an adult, she got away from her dad. And the big thing is not to feel sorry for the perpetrators. It doesn't matter if the father had a difficult childhood or if the father's father was violent. When you're little, your caretakers, your parents, your neighbors, your grandparents, you are little and they are giants. If you are a giant, then you are responsible. The child is innocent and the child needs to be protected. And so that I find with spiritual work, first, you have to admit what actually has happened to you, which is absolutely enormous. It goes against attachment theory to actually admit when the people closest to you that are supposed to love you have caused harm. And so if there's no respect and there's no love, then you don't owe the relationship anything as an adult. And when you're a child, what you have to do, and this will be very, very hard, is figure out ways of keeping yourself safe. But if an adult, which is a giant, harms a child, the karma is on the adult. Period. They are a giant to a young child. And that's why you find parents that were very violent, very emotionally abusive when you're little, and then all of a sudden you're bigger than them, and then they change their tune to an emotional abuse or to manipulation, to control you and your emotions with guilt and shame, because they could no longer control your body like they could when you were little. Get away from them. Get yourself safe. Don't immediately go into feeling sorry for them because, their parent was violent. There's lots of parents that had violent and really abusive parents that didn't do that to their own children. They chose to not do it to their own children. Everyone has a choice. And if they're not choosing love and respect, you don't owe them anything. But you owe yourself the truth. You were little and they were a giant. So focus on your healing path. Focus on your own healing. And you don't have to worry about their karma or whatever if they don't learn this, then we don't care. Okay? If they're not asking, if they're not on the healing path and they're not wanting to say that they're sorry, meaning they understand that you were little, and they were a giant. A giant. Because that is what adults look like to small children and to babies and to toddlers and to children. They look like giants. And so if you are a parent and you're a giant and you harm little beings, little humans, there's no excuse. None. You're a giant and they're tiny, with tiny heads, tiny hands, tiny feet, tiny bodies, tiny brains. There's no excuse. So if you are on a healing path and you have been in front of a giant that has caused harm, and there's a lot of healing that has to happen when they cause harm. It's a lot of work. But start working with your higher self and heal. And don't worry about the giants. Maybe when you're all healed and you've done lots of healing work and you feel strong, but let them go. It's not your responsibility. You were small and little, and they chose to be your caretaker. So let the giants be giants and focus on your healing path. Focus on keeping yourself safe. Communicate with your higher self. And ask for the healing that you want, and ask for the questions that you have. Ask the questions to get answers. But we have to start with our own hearts first. But what lots of people do, and myself included, is I would go to the perpetrator's eyes and go behind their eyes and be like, well, or see them from their higher self perspective and learning their lessons and their purpose. I'm not their higher self. Just because I can see from that point of view, it doesn't mean that when I'm little, I am a giant with the adults. When I'm little and I'm with an adult, the adult is a giant and I'm little. And so don't get into looking at the giant, like behind the giant's eyes, and make excuses for them. There's many people that have come from very, very abusive histories, and they do not carry that forward. So don't buy into the excuses. And don't see yourself as an adult when you're little. If you're little, you have little hands and little bodies, and you're very defenseless. They have all the power. So don't think of yourself as that you're a giant when you're not. You're little, and you were defenseless, and you needed to be protected. Period. And I don't care what your caretakers or your parents or your neighbors or your priest or whoever, I don't care who they are. If they are an adult, they are choosing. And if they have made mistakes, then they're the ones that need to make amends with action. Not just, I'm sorry, but you were irritating, so I had to cause you harm when you were 2 years old. That is garbage for garbage behavior. Adults know who they can target to get away with things. And they know if they're causing harm, they're doing it and they're doing it to someone that they can get away with it. They're not picking the biggest person in the crowd. They're picking the smallest, most helpless person in the crowd. That is somebody that's deranged. There is something wrong with them, and so don't make excuses for them. Call a spade a spade. It's not your karma. If you were the baby and you were the toddler or you were the young person, even a young adult, a young woman with a 40-year-old man, that 40-year-old man has 20 more adult years of experience. They have more experience. And so if they're causing harm to the 20-year-old, they know what they're doing. They're not picking the person that they can get away with a lot. They're picking a person that is very innocent, that doesn't have as much life experience. And they're doing it on purpose. So stay away from those people. Don't give them chances. Don't listen to, their sob story of what happened in their childhood. Who cares if they aren't actively on a healing path? Who cares? And even if they are on a healing path, just say, I'll catch you in 20 years. Because if they're doing this behavior and causing harm to younger, more innocent people, they're doing it on purpose because they know they're doing it to somebody that doesn't have power. And if you're targeting someone that doesn't have power, you're doing it on purpose. So release everything and release the karma back to the perpetrators. And don't take it on at all. Don't take it on.